Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here. I recently made a video about the upcoming Hall of Fame rotation of Hearthstone that's coming in April 2019, and I've received a lot of questions about how does the dust work exactly. And indeed, there is free dust to be made, and you can make quite a good dust profit with the Hall of Fame rotation. And in this video I'm going to go into full details on what to do and how much dust you're going to be able to get. You can get the Hall of Fame compensation dust for as many copies of the card as you can put into a deck. So for legendary cards, there are two legendary cards going to Hall of Fame. There's this Baku the Moon Eater and there's Gen Greymane. And so you only need one copy of each card to get maximum dust. And what you should do, depending on what your current status is. So if you don't have a copy of these cards, you should craft that copy in golden, which will cost you 3200 dust. Then you will get 3200 dust in compensation when the rotation happens, and after the rotation you can disenchant your golden copy for a 1600 dust profit. However, if you already have a regular copy, so if you have a regular Baku, you should do nothing, because then you will get that 1600 in compensation, and then you can still disenchant the Baku for another 400 dust for a total profit of 2000 dust. And as can be seen from this, if you were to craft a golden copy in addition to your regular, the golden copy would give you a profit of 1600, and then you would also be able to disenchant your regular for 400, and that would add up to exactly the same 2000 dust that you get if you do nothing. Likewise, if you already own a golden copy of one of these cards, you should also do nothing. You get the compensation, you can optionally disenchant, and you can profit. This same line applies to cards of epic rarity. So there are two cards of epic rarity going to Hall of Fame. There's Gloomstack and there's Glittermoth, and you should have two copies of each of these because you can put two into your deck. If you have no copies whatsoever already, you should craft them in golden if possible. That would cost 3200 dust to make two copies of Gloomstack, for example, in which case you will then get 3200 dust back as compensation, and you can disenchant those golden copies after the rotation for a net profit of 800 dust. However, if you already have regular copies or golden copies of the cards, you should do nothing. You should not craft any extra copies of those. You will get the compensation, you have the opportunity to disenchant, and you will turn in a profit. And once again, this exact same line of thinking applies to cards of rare rarity, of which there are three that are rotating out to Hall of Fame: Merkspark Eel, Divine Favor, and Doomguard. If you don't have two copies of all of these cards, you should craft them, preferably in golden, in which case then you get the compensation, and you can disenchant the extra copies for a profit of 200 dust per two copies of a rare card. But if you already have regular copies or golden copies, you should do nothing. However, when it comes to common rarity, there is a little bit of dust to be made. I personally don't consider it worthwhile, but if you happen to have extra dust lying around and you really want to, then you can make a little bit of dust with these. There are two cards of common rarity that are going to Hall of Fame: Naturalize and Black Cat. If you have no copies of them, you should of course craft two copies of each in golden. That will cost 800 dust per two copies, so 800 dust for Naturalize, 800 dust for Black Cat. You will get all of that back as compensation. Then you can disenchant those golden cards: 100 dust for two copies of Naturalize, 100 dust for two copies of Black Cat, 100 dust each, so 200 dust total profit from these commons. However, because for commons the golden cards are so much more expensive than regular cards, actually, if you have regular copies and you want to maximize your dust, you should craft these in golden. However, it will take you a total of 1600 dust to craft 4 golden cards, and you will turn in a net profit of 40 dust from those. So obviously that is not very cost effective. But it is free dust, so if you have a lot of dust lying around and you want to get 40 free dust, then golden commons is the way. Overall, this Hall of Fame rotation is pretty good dust-wise, because if you don't have any of these Hall of Fame cards but you have a lot of dust, then that would really take a lot of dust. If you can craft them all in golden and you disenchant them, you will get a net profit of 5600 dust. If you can only afford to craft some of the cards, you should craft the legendaries first, because there the profit is the largest. Also, if you already have all of these Hall of Fame cards in regular copies, which is a situation that active players could very well be in, you will actually get a compensation of 5,560 dust just for owning these cards, and you get to keep the cards. The maximum profit if you're willing to disenchant everything, if you already own the regular copies of these cards, is 6,940 dust, which you can achieve by crafting golden commons in addition to the regular ones you had, and then disenchanting everything. And here you can see that if you already own the copies of the cards in regular versions, then disenchanting, okay, does give you around 1,400 dust if you disenchant all of those after the rotation, but that's a pretty small additional gain compared to the compensation that you're already getting. So for example, my plan, I already have regular copies of all of these cards. I'm going to just take the compensation. I'm going to keep the cards so that I can play with them in wild. But there is an option to make some dust here as well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.